grizzly bears.
Yeah. You go back, you go down, you turn the volume on and so.
Popeye used to do that too.
There he is. Eddie.
Are we having mission?
Eddie, I have to tell you something.
All right, we're signing in and lining up.
Lining up, signing up, and reinvesting.
Jimmy Flowers
more
is alive
sugar,
and well.
more
He's not
shoes.
dead. You announced he was dead. He's alive and well. Because I ran into him just the other day, and I called his roommates to tell them that he was dead, and they were freaked, and because he hadn't been home for 3 days.
All right, we're signing in as per our tradition.
He knows.
We'll be beginning, ladies and gentlemen.
I wanted you to know because you know how much we all love him.
South, southwest.
We were looking for.
Okay, nor
When
east.
you were looking for pictures, I thought.
Keep on going till someone says,
You're ready.
You know, I was gone and I know a while, and people said, yeah, I heard you
What?
were dead.
I thought you were going to
That's all right.
yeah, I could have been doing that. I thought to say
The
that.
results of my death was in greatly exaggerated.
Story.
And I owe you an apology. I got coming to a reception.
Well, it is the 3 days.
Dan, we having a take ground next week? Ground next Wednesday night?
That's the plan.
Good. How's teaching?
And I'll be alive and well.
Hard,
Tell about it.
good, I don't know. That was pretty good. Just not bad. We're gonna turn over another teacher, I think, pretty soon, but that's what we do, we turn them over.
Stand up on their head.
That's a good way to put it. That is about
That way they will be around.
If you could kindly, sign in, and then take our seats. We will get started in just a moment with the regularly scheduled announcements.
Are you gonna borrow this?
No, you're right.
Oh, you know, I was fine with it.
All right, here we go. Welcome to Sacred Grounds, ladies and gentlemen. Give yourselves a round of applause. Or a square of applause, or elliptical applause. Fine poetry and good food, or good food and fine poetry since 1972, according to the esoteric records in presence in my mind. If you have a cell phone, such as I do, and you haven't turned it off, like I have, you should turn yours off because they go off in the middle of things, become embarrassing, everybody looks at you, including the person who's on the mic. Longest running poetry open mic that we know of. Over 40 years here, same bat time, same bat station. If you like the food you are enjoying, which I intend to enjoy, give Teddy and Fiona a round of applause because they are the hosts. They provide Here's the other announcements. Fiona and Teddy, cell phones.
There you go.
Tom Holmberg, the Queen's Wave. He is the feature for the evening. Give him a nice wave. And then Eddie, right here is the mini feature. So give him a nice wave. We got it last time, so he's up. And he brought his artwork too, so this is cool. I like the Betty Boop. All right, I am going to go through the fabulous door prizes at this very time to your numerous patients' awareness.
You got enough?
Paul Scott, the Raj Quartet. Now you probably, I don't know if this is the same guy, the Jewel in the Crown.
Yeah.
I mean, they made a movie out of that, is that the same thing? Okay, so that's the same thing.
But it's the Jewel in the Crown, the Day of the Scorpion, the Towers of Silence, and a Division of the Spoils.
3 National Geographics, if you remember Mount St. Helens. There's a whole story in here about that, it's a great one. Are we alone? I think no matter how you answer this question, it is very, very profound. Yes, very, very profound. No, very, very profound. And this is National Geographic's The Christian Exodus from the Holy Land. I guess they don't like them there.
and Jean Genet, right?
Jean Genet. Letters to Roger Blinn, Reflections on the Theater. Translated by Richard Seaver. So, I've not read this, but some people know it's good. Copy of the Nature Conservancy. Poetry News, in case you didn't know where that there was Poetry News, there is. And you can take this, or that, or magazine. So we have several nice prizes here. You get them after you sign up at the end. That's how we do that. And if you don't like the prizes or want to do the mini feature, when you come up, you say, I would like the mini feature, and not one of those fantastically wonderful prizes.
So, that takes care of the business agenda. Do I have a motion to close the business meeting?
So moved.
Okay.
I have moved.
I always wanted to do that. All right, so we have no one in number one as per our ongoing strange and bizarre traditions. But Buford Bunton will take the lead and kick us off. Give him a nice round, please.
I have a poem, and I hope this is okay with her, but this is dedicated to Stephanie.
Our Stephanie Manning?
Yes, Stephanie
Okay.
Manning.
Okay.
This is called, and this is a repeat poem, it's called Steve Mackin. Steve Mackin could, as the baseball and Shakespearean gods might say, quote Shakespeare out of bed. Even more adept, perhaps, at explaining Yeats, who Steve, one time a librarian, the studious persona covered in a small goatee that actually covered his entire area around his erudite mouth. Steve told me in somewhat recent times that my writing concerning my work as a teacher's aide in special education in the San Francisco schools was his favorite of mine, and favorite of his. I really enjoyed that. He was apparently visiting England, the birthplace of his grandfather, when the beginnings of what would be a fatal heart attack started on him, started troubling him. He died in San Francisco, which I believe is his birthplace. Before the Wednesday night readings at Sacred Grounds Coffee House, the series of talented late poet Johanna Wedgwood led for some 19 years, the longest running series anywhere that I am aware of, and its 21st or 22nd consecutive year, run by San Francisco Unified School District elementary school teacher Dan Brady. Steve, the gifted poet, and Stephanie Manning and I would confer about all things poetic from about 4:30 or 5 p.m. up until the time all poets lined up behind us in the chair at the beginning of the open mic list, along with Steve, Stephanie, as well as any other poet who asked me to put him or her in a certain spot on the list. I did all that, and I still do. And I love it. Steve volunteered to set up the poets for me at times, I think out of respect for me. I would then slink away to another chair and table and take my turn at the microphone later on. Steve had a very strong, clearly enunciated voice with what I call poetic pipes. I miss him terribly, and I'm sorry that for almost all of the past couple of years, well, it was about a year that he didn't show up, I would imagine. He was not present here. It would have been a better reading had he continued up until the time he was no longer present, or what is the strange and distant world in a city that actually is the most wonderful city I know, but can also be a bit strange and distant. Steve Mackin was no doubt a genius, a San Francisco policeman's son, who always had to be the first reader at the open mic, but who stood back otherwise and not only allowed, but encouraged me to be wherever I was and continue to be artistically, and in a real sense, whoever else is here. I wish him a peaceful, and if such a thing exists, an exciting journey to whatever realm he has begun his new life.
Thank you. That was Buford Bunton, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I'm going to read the next set of poets just so we know. We have Lewis, Jack, Owen, Don, Stephanie, Karen, then Garrett, then Brian, then me, then Yasmin, then our featured So, Lewis.
Dubious words and sublime. Can you hear me? Okay. Words can be deadly, and finding the right ones can nearly kill you. Was that mouthful art or something awful? An Art Deco fart in a fryer or creme brulee over the cough that I heard there? Was the line a sign of some deep meaning or the revelation of a criminal mind? Felony or epiphany? Was it perfect music, a gift from on high, or a master disaster entirely of your own making? To seek to discover, uncover, to toil in the mine of deep meaning, to wrench the word from other words, then feel its wrath, the pain, the shame of false creation and craft, then to succeed at last, if only partly. Word, color, shade, sound, rhythm, meaning, all in a clear blue sky to renew or run amok and murder your luck. To begin again. Were those words art or a request for a university grant? Were they documentation to become the next poet laureate of Bakersfield, Barstow, Billings, or Baker? Or were they a struggle for form and meaning, even grace, grace, grace? Were they social media madness in the clown's costume, or did they break new ground? Were they more thinking, quote, out of the box, end quote, while still of course in it? Or were they walking on a new moon and a new sky and a new universe? Did they talk about risk-taking while staying in the comfort zone of convention? Did they wear the bow tie and fake being shy, or were they scared out of their wits, but hanging in there nevertheless? Did they really care, or were they just designed to give that impression? Did they wipe the tears away, or just write a check? Did they need to go public, or could they wait their time? Were the desire for real life, or did they just need an audience, a stage? Were they a ham on stage and a hamster off? Were they already on YouTube and Facebook and had followers on Twitter, or were they real? Did those words have 2 days' growth of beard and at least one pierced ear and a tattoo, or were they embarrassed by all of the above and for an entire generation? When they talked about creativity, did they really mean money and profit? Did they mean gadgets implemented in silicon and software for mass consumption? Or did they mean the birth of something new, something never seen before, arriving on the wings of a fresh sea breeze with a sense of faraway places? Did they mean shrink-wrapped plastic or licorice and spice? Did they dare to be awkward and say what they meant, or were they an imitation of everything known? But maybe you get what I mean, and if you don't, it doesn't matter. Words are hard to come by. They are the struggle to be where all else doesn't matter. They are not the great American novel written after a big meal. They are starvation warded off by finding the right expression in the nick of time. And they are the style held in contempt by others because they have not been used in the same context before. They are the dull huh of the sluggish-minded and the airy huff of the contemptuous. In the state of quiet, in the country of contemplation, they are the hope of morning, the death in evening, the resurrection in darkest night, the fragrance of the rose, the saving smile, the laugh that lifts and doesn't deride, the ache that finds some relief at last, and the cold grief that finally passes. They are meaning that blends with ecstatic delight in some other world, surpassing all understanding. They are the Christ and the Buddha, combined in the birth and awakening of love and light. They surpass all sensuality but contain it too. They are the death forever contained in life and life forever contained in death. And they are not the clock, and they are the sad smile of the gods watching the game below from the universal bleachers and shaking their heads at each and every fumble.
Thank you so much. Good, ladies and gentlemen. We have Jack, then Owen, then John, Stephanie, Karen, Margaret Mead, and Alistair Crowley. Liberal Democrats. Go way back. I have a pair. I think I have my pair. Okay, I don't have my pair, I'm sorry. No, I don't have them. I think they're in the car.
Motherfucker. Often used among the saltier gutter snipes of the ghetto is the colorful noun motherfucker, a pejorative and accusative epithet whose element of import may enjoin whoever it refers to against using their female parents as models or paragons for choosing girls among the hotties of their own generations for flirtation. Motherfucker may also warn against seeing in the act of fornication not primarily the most absolute ecstasy, rapture, bliss, happiness, joy possible to them, but rather only the means of procreation. Motherfucker is a poetic, dramatic allusion to the Oedipus cycle of Sophocles, in which a well-meaning despot, zealous in assuring the well-being of his people, is discovered to be the incestuous father by his own mother of their children. He falls from a position of prestige and power far above the rubble to one of shame and ignominy far below I chose a life like that of most, from which to view the fate of men, that of factotum, I did boast, a clerk, though now a better plan occurs to me, which would have been, rather than serving wealthy men, to live outside and be a bum. Profess the arts of F. In any course in kingdom come, more honor lies than to succumb to lies like those our parents
All right, Owen, then Dawn, Stephanie, Karen, Garrett, Brian, myself, and then Yasmin before our glorious feature rips it open, as it were.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Four short poems. Rhythm, noises,
defile the air. It scares the pigeons. Bleak thought too. Bleak thoughts, bleak thoughts. My mind cries for a sentence. My mind becomes the wind for a split second. Then becomes the air. The quiet vanishes. At the Trieste, I'm writing right here. 4. The wind to puke and throb, the puke of air. I do easily scare. My wits are elsewhere. The fallen shoe, a poem in prose. A cup of curds captivates the soul of the bellet of balls and balustrades. Capture the sounds of shoes as they mutter their squeak with impossible aloofness. Shoes of the men on the street to the dandified boots, the impression they give of the self-made Jamesian American aristocrat. Out to show the world of ordinary shoes, what the streetwise poseur is all about. They lift the not worn out wearer to braggadocio and yes, profundity. I feel sorry for this poem. I wander as Ishmael, wander through the lonely day. Try as I may to be, my knowledge sits on a mountain, high above the furtive ends and ways. Nothing alone, nothing. I'm the opposite of alone. I wander like a bone to be fed to a dog. A cur does not purr like a cat. I am trapped like a rat in a cage. I feel no rage. I am stationary as a sage. This is one page of poetry. That is an attempt at metaphor without logic. I feel sorry for it is pedagogic. I am the poet I dream about. The morning of the fate of the stars. I feel stripped of the cares and the stares of the many. People walk by. I sigh for their wishes. That is, I think they wish and are glad that they are here and nothing more than the air. Nothing more than the air. My thoughts are one with the sun and they try to reach the evasive moon that hides from the day and coldly wishes us good night. I'm stuck with myself, alone and with no one else. Is the poet a dreamer? I dream, and I know how many sides a one-dimensional brown triangle has. At the beach, the dark traces of the shadows of seagulls' wings, those ruffled rococo titans, the waves, salute the empty tide pools, shiny as shine mirrors. Cafe Trieste. To be a Triestano, that is a conoscente, you are solemn, tough, happy, pedantic, profound, and are enjoying every second of your peculiar sovereignty. You invented your own state of things. You're a sports fan and are conventional, that is, I see you as conventional insofar as you're normal, and have the normalcy to cry at funerals and rejoice at weddings. You are happy in your normalcy as it stands to reality and the glories of your imagination. Agnus Dei, after Robert Lowell. Apart from it all, I sit in a small corner. I see things with my eyes. A few suited passers-by. This is the Trieste Cafe. The title to this poem comes from sacred music, a prayer. Agnus Dei means Lamb of God. I searched for a metaphor. This whole cafe is a poem I could not write. The tables are filled with people. There are no metaphors around, nothing. Grand Street is quiet, and that is that. There is emphasis on emptiness without a poem. I heard myself, am I limited, or are they? Whose confused confession is it? Mine or theirs? Hey, thank you very much.
We have Don Brennan coming up. Give him a round, please. Give it up. Stephanie, Karen, Garrett.
Virginia Barrett was a feature here a little while ago, and she's doing a children's anthology, book of poems about and for children. And I submitted a few. I chose these three. Nice. First one's called The Mother and the Skateboard. A boy and his mother get on the bus with a brand new skateboard, colorful and unscathed by curb and concrete. The boy is soon on his knees in his seat, glowing with a silent smile, staring out the front window, impatient yet contained, awaiting his final stop. The mother holds the board with her purse on her lap, but soon there is a loud clatter as the board hits the floor and the mother shouts, "Oh no, I've dropped it." The boy looks at me and grins, as though he seems to know what I know about skateboards. They are born to be noisily dropped to the ground. The bus stops soon. The mother carries the board down the steps and hands it to the boy, who sends it swiftly to the sidewalk with a loud clatter. I have two twin grandsons named Oscar and Raphael. We'd like to take them to Dolores Park. The Tightrope Man. Once upon a time, Oscar and Raphael went to Dolores Park with Grandma, where a man in a green and yellow suit had tied a red rope between two trees. "We're in for a treat," said Grandma. "You mean he's selling ice cream?" asked Oscar, who liked ice cream almost as much as he liked taking pictures with Grandma's cell phone. "He's going to walk through the air on that rope," Grandma laughed. "I want to do it too," insisted Raphael. "You walk through the air and I'll take your picture," said Oscar. So the man in the odd suit put Raphael on the rope 3 times, until the boy was able to stand up there and even to take some steps while Oscar snapped the picture. Now the boys are older, but they still go to Dolores Park with Grandma. At home, she has a photo of Raphael, the acrobat, hanging on her wall. And this one's called Howling Monkeys. Ella woke up early because her class at school was going on a field trip to the San Francisco Zoo. Mama Penelope poked her head in and asked if Ella was okay putting on her own stuff. Ella said yes, and Penelope said that Mama Maya was fixing breakfast and what do you want? Ella called out French toast, then sat up in bed and began putting on her leg bracelets. The zoo was a huge place, so they were taking a wheelchair, but Ella would mostly use her canes. All of the 3rd graders were going together in 2 buses, and Mama Maya was coming along as a chaperone. Maya loved the zoo, especially the lions and tigers. Ella's favorites were the giraffes and howling monkeys. She always asked her mothers what the monkeys were saying when they howled, but nobody knew. When Ella grew up, she was going to be a guide at the zoo and learn the monkey language so she could tell the visitors what the animals were talking about.
Thank you. All right, Stephanie, then Karen, then Garrett.
So here's a narrative and then a poem.
Right.
Am I really going to write a poem about the new hot water heater in my apartment, which is located next to the gas stove? A friend of the manager installed it, and every time it comes on, it sort of explodes. A blue flash bursts forth and subsides. Scary and dangerous, but the unit does heat up water nicely. I have come to the conclusion that it needs a pressure regulator to slow down the galloping natural gas, much like an irrigation system sometimes needs a similar pressure regulator to control the intensity of the water pressure. Which got me thinking about pressure regulators in a broader context. Frankly, This reading is a pressure regulator, the very best type of pressure regulator, because it treats not only physical hunger and the need for companionship, but spiritual thirst and the brain's need for intellectual stimulation. Poetry serves to regulate these things, plus feelings that come, angst, observations, and musings, such that once we've had a gathering, there is less of a need to talk to ourselves at bus stops, use substances to thwart negativity, talk to disinterested people, and generally go crazy. Poetry is very effective in this, a joy to write, read, and listen to, and one of the best pressure regulators I know. Now if I can just attach the reading to the hot water heater, including the use of Teddy and Fiona in my kitchen, I believe the problem with explosions would be solved. It's either that or call the plumber, but the thought of doing that sends me off to poetry readings, where for free I can have myself adjust it fine. For now I will retreat to my commute, my train commute, which has long been regulating my pressure for years. Hot water, just standing in it, not standing in it, just need it, can't have it, will trigger that blue explosion. Love, not much of that, just need it, can't have it, will trigger obsession. Longing, too much of that, don't want it, I am me, not someone else, practice self-acceptance. Poetry, regulate my blood pressure, my life pressures, my water pressure, my gas pressure, financial pressures, work pressures, anxiety level, and oh, the people that lose their tempers. Oh, them, yes, regulate their pressures. Come, humor, lightness, and hope. Lift me up on your angel wings and let me down in spring, worth waiting for. Here's the appendix. Not to mention the pressure regulator that curls up on my stomach at night and rubs his head on my fingernails. No high blood pressure since he moved in 2 months ago. Best of all, he speaks only in meows and speaks that very well. Precious.
Karen, then Garrett, then Brian, then myself, and Yasmin for our features. Thank you. Give her a nice round. Welcome.
Sit, stay. Only politics. It is 9 o'clock, and somewhere in the world, someone cries and rocks a dead baby. Child lost to malnutrition, AIDS or cholera, lost to malaria or to fragments of bombs intended for strategic purposes, or just to take the hurt out of parents and make them cease to care about justice or ideals or anything but the corpse, stiffening now in the arms of a mother who does not understand how to let go. Jaman, and this was for one of my students. Jaman ran through the halls with his twin brother, speed so fast they'd have to slide to keep from colliding face first with the wall where the corridor turned. Jaman struggled through words on the page, but caught every idea and innuendo, went with the special ed guy for remedial reading, grinning. Jaman had a smile that made it impossible to stay annoyed, shared hugs and sandwiches with all his friends, wanted to build a house for his grandma. Jaman came to school late when his mom was out of prison. She could never quite get up on time or keep her promises. Jaman loved her anyway. Nobody better say nothing. Jaman was going to make it. Nobody could stop that boy. Was going to be an architect, but didn't quite make high school before a bullet in his head left nothing but blood on the sidewalk. Just one more boy, gone. Corel calls from Orlando to tell me of her dream. This daughter of mine, composed, serene, successful, still calls home when life is a celebration or when dreams are scary. Sunset. You called from Bert to tell me the sunset is fabulous. Send me running to the beach where the tide is out. Clouds are painted in colors of all your most sensuous dreams. Salmon, peach, and scarlet permeate water where it laps sand gently, like a lover who cannot taste enough the salt sweat of her beloved. I hurl broken sand dollars out to sea like tiny organic frisbees. Gently place on damaged ones on wetter ground, so they will have a better chance to live. Look into the eyes of a fat white dog who pleads for a pat on the head, bounds off, comes back for more. Write sky, I love you, and sand that is saturated with ocean's embraces. Sand appears uniform, is made of jewel-colored crystals, diverse as species of nudibranches. But you must have patience to observe closely, or you will miss the glory of what you touch. The colors vanish, revealing stars invisible in the light of one-way orbit, and I wrap myself in night-stroke truths, go seeking north.
Garrett, thank you. Here we have Garrett, then Brian, and myself, then Yasmin. Give him a nice round as he comes up.
I'll be co-feature at the Frank Vet Center in Alameda on this coming Saturday, 23rd at 7 p.m. and co-featuring with the novelist Judy Juanita.
Let's do that.
I'll read from my two new chapbooks, The Return of the Dream Girl and Check Please Don't. And starting with the title from the latter. Okay, your state ID, check. Your driver's license, check. Photo ID, check. Vehicle registration, check. Birth certificate, check. Passport, check. Marriage certificate, check. Doctor's verification, check. Power of attorney, check. High school diploma, check. Middle school diploma, check. Elementary school diploma, check. Proof of residential living for the last 20 years, check. Military honorable discharge, check. Proof of mental competency, check. All this stuff just to obtain a gun? Gun? What gun? This is a folder registration line. The gun owner's registration is a fast express lane. The one with fast tracking processing. No waiting there, not ever. A hidden refuge. To the outside world, this little hidden refuge is dare not spoken of, at least not in a public domain. Yet, though never spoken of and considered a top secret, everyone knows the true story more so than a blabbermouth. And of course, though they may try to deny it, everyone has ventured in their own special edition of this hidden refuge. So you see, dear goddess, or should it be I see, this hidden refuge that we venture inside the sheets, where our forms interlock like perfectly fitting pieces of a puzzle, is not such a hidden secret. To be very honest, only our interpretation and version of what it constitutes is any sort of hidden secret, though subject to revelation. A bodyguard's reaction. You've said this once too often, she hissed as she took him down to the floor. Now I'll just have to teach you a thing or two about watching what you say and do. And he felt the impact of her firm and tall bulk impact on his own like a lioness top of prey who mounts a most people struggle. This was no joke or bluff, he well knew. This woman was deadly serious. She blocked all attempts at escape as she forced him on his back so he could face her to remind him what a force of nature she was. Let's see how you are now, she panted as her form heaved with satisfied passion. What do you think of me and mine now that I've got you at my mercy? He knew he had quite a reply to make, and he could not help but admire her passion. Yet one who reads this may well wonder whether it is for the contempt, or duty, or admiration, or even love. He knows, she knows, but you can draw your own conclusion. Needling. Exalted is the needle when it pierces a low, in occasional other parts that great ornaments do mount. Exalted is the needle through which colored inks do flow to create human canvases for one's own exhibit. And perhaps most loved is the original needle that assembles great attires and mends tears within such. But one needle that sends many a same swimming off is the one through which poultices and medications do flow. More reviled, one inquires, than the ones with bad substance.
Eric Murphy, thank you.
And both of these are available as well.
His books are available. See him at the play. Brian Young, come on up.
I'll try to skip real close. I'll read two little things, and one's a couple of lines of mine, and another is from something else. And this is kind of a personal revelation or so, and a gift I recently got from reading something. The first one is a couple lines here. Mine. The sea was rough that night. Yes, quite rough. It was a hideous monster, plagued with foolish men, riding upon its back. And that's a couple of lines from a book, the name of it's called The Norman, and I've been working on this book about the Middle Ages for more than 25 years or so, and someday I'll finish it, someday I'll put it all together. It's just late 13th century, it's just something that's a part of me. My language is old, it's always been that way. I mean, you can judge that line, but I've got all kinds of things that I have to work on between archaic and modern and all kinds of things. But it's just a part of me, and since I was very young, even before I ever studied Shakespeare, so my language is like colonial American people. I read letters and I realized that's kind of what I think the way colonial people wrote. But I've tried to, I'm just that way, I've tried to read a lot of, from school, in school, and out of school, great books, but I have a confession to make in front of great people here who write. Not until last month, did I ever read Catcher in the Rye, and I'm ashamed. And that's my confession today. I've had a hard time with, not a hard time, but I'm not such a great, I don't like Hemingway. And I have to struggle with a lot of what are considered the great modern writers. And I'm still working. I'm going to someday read Farewell to Arms. I'm going to struggle and get through it. But I knew I had to read Catcher in the Rye here recently. And it's a great, powerful work for me. It's not David Copperfield. It's not Huckleberry Finn. But I'm glad he doesn't have Mr. Salinger, who recently, I guess he died very recently, doesn't have, Huckleberry Finn has a little anger and very bitterness from Mr. Twain. And if you lived through slavery, whatever color, you would be a little angry and bitter, so I can see that. But I like Catcher in the Rye because the kid is so confused, and this place of adolescence and all these impulses of truth and inspiration, but he's tremendously caring. And it just got me, and I got a gift from it. So I'm going to try to read something from it, a little bit of it, to give it, since an unexpected gift from this kind of literature. And so it's Holden Caulfield with his little sister Phoebe. He's there in the room together, and we're talking, and he says, "You know what I'd like to be?" I said. "You know what I'd like to be? I mean, if I had my goddamn choice. You know that song, if a body catch a body coming through the rye? I'd like it's if a body meet a body coming through the rye." Old Phoebe said. "It's a poem by Robert Burns." I know it's a poem by Robert Burns. She was right, though. It is if a body meet a body through the rye. I didn't know it then, though. I thought it was if a body catch a body, I said. Anyway, I keep picturing all these little kids playing it some game in this big field of rye and all. Thousands of little kids. And nobody's around, nobody big, I mean, except me. And I'm standing on the edge of some crazy cliff. What do I have to do? I have to catch everybody. If they start to go over the cliff. I mean, if they're running and don't look where they're going, I have to come out from somewhere and catch them. That's all I do all day. I just be the catcher in the rye. I knew it's crazy, but that's the only thing I'd really like to be. I knew it's crazy. And so from these words, I've had a tremendous gift of something. You every few years, I think everyone has an experience or so that you realize who you are, your best self. You have moments of your best hope you ever thought of yourself. And then those images of a young kid, it reflects that. And I have this every 3 or 4 years, maybe every 10 years, every 5. And so my best self, when I have that moment, I'm the catcher in the rye.
All right, that brings us to, me. I was wondering, who's next? Must be that other guy. Thank you so much.
Lest I remind you to not do this at home. These professionals, professionals. So I'm going to read haiku, a haiku, and a poem like that. The child I once knew, first boyfriend in one hand, a basketball in the other. Water strider, kicks, ripples the moon. And this is called You Say. You say you are searching, that you cannot find it. You say you are lost. Listen, grasshopper, love is not a battlefield where the bleeding losers are left strewn about to beckon for death's welcoming rap or longing for a final gentle word or touch from God. And I do not serve the angels. They have just about everything they need by now. As for you, aching in mind, body, or soul, who have that acquired taste for love, that thirst that seemingly draws one out of one's mind, I'll tell you what, you can find it simply enough. Go, give nourishment to all tender beings, feed every wide mouth, quench all thirst for love, and love as you would be loved, right where you are. Let your happiness wander no more, no matter where you go, and so be requited. Let your beautiful lips and supple, passionate flesh open sweetly to all the love that you can imagine. Yield to its want and disseminate all those vital gifts you have upon this magnificent world of ours. And these are some haiku. Ladies and gentlemen, this is my opportunity to serve. This is one of my favorites because I actually saw it and I couldn't believe it. I loved it. Swift over the pond, the rippled shadow, dragonfly, low enough for the frog. And this is called What Words Can Do. So it's a poem about poems and poetry and all that. So it's okay to read it here, not at a birthday party. Why have I chosen the solitude of what I call an invisible life? The miracles of which pass unseen, the evidence of which might be strife. Of course, nature has sympathy with my cause and its effect, for the world is ever loving and sublime, or so my hopes expect. Now, to the ordinary or common eye's view, life's road is easy to envision. One manages the simple wants and plots a course of temporal acquisition. But mystic eyes see beyond that veil, and so I am free, not held in its thrall. For in this life do I wax ecstatic whenever my soul's touched by glory withal. Such events are like unto the sun for all their showering warmth of love, and I am wrapped in a fold of considerations I can't truly speak well of. Be curious then, and comb words such as these, and you might seek that place where a love by which your soul may take wing has joy presumed thy face. It surpasses all understanding and the varied delights of this redolent world by far. It's found in the pursuit of the Spirit's inspirational mind. It's as bright as any star. It shines fast in the depths of peace, sounds the soul, and holds all life dear. It is enamored of all things human, and provides us insight, both perfect and clear. And then 2 more haiku for you, or 3. I got 3 haiku, just 3. Still pond, in reflection, fireflies circling the moon. And then this is from a field trip I took with my little second grader some time ago. May, kids off the hook, into grassy meadows, making dandelion wishes. Summer rain sprinkles across the pond, dissolves trees, clouds, all the heavens. And then this is on a camping trip I went on some years ago. I've read this here before, but I like it. On the path, stepping over one ant only to come down on another. Thank you very much.
I'll be forgiven by that ant at some point. Yasmin is coming up next, and she is a wonderful reader. Give her a nice round of applause. Make sure that's okay.
Boy, you confirmed my image of you, Dan. You're a complete romantic. I just love your haikus. They're so beautiful.
Thank you.
And I enjoyed your reading. I don't know your name, I'm sorry. I really enjoyed it. And yes, I have not read Catcher on the Rye, so don't feel bad about it. It's fine.
Thank you.
There are lots of other great books in different cultures. Read them. Okay. So here we go. That doesn't demean anything. I mean, I know great books are the great books. From the novel, so I'll read a little piece here. And I'm not going to read all this. I'm just going to read 3 pages. I feel a numbness flowing through each vein, each artery, painless and feelingless. I think of India, of rice fields, palm trees, boats, nets, waterfalls, monsoons, but nothing gushes. My horizons stretch over an expanse of dry plains, no hills to obstruct my voice, no echo, and the silence chokes me. Only a few scattered cacti to remind me of a dying wind and thorns. I rise from my captivity, awake to mirages. I see water, but recognize its elusiveness. I stand still, not moving enough to my dreams. God I had seen once in the courtyards of fortresses built by Mughal emperors. God in 1,000 images in the Shish Mahals, reflecting from mirrors within baths built for princesses. God in the mosque of Chisti, where Akbar prayed for his son, and Salim, his son, was born to fight a battle against his own father. God in filigree partitions of marble mosques. God in the jingle of bells and anklets around dancing feet. God I had seen once in filtering light, my head pressed on petals flung on stone coffins. The coffins lie open and I gape into hollow pits. I stare at the peacock throne from which Shah Jahan held court, but the peasants around the court are human pawns, like the Nach girls who danced across the courtyard, marked as chessboards. To Akbar's biddings, the moves are contrived, the court is mock, the pageantry is a facade. I think of princesses playing blind man's bluff, visions of finery, jewelry, silks, brocades, princesses twirling blind to what is outside the palace walls. But the fairy tale princes fly the white horses of lament, grief, sickness, and disease. It was you who pulled off my blindfold, Merrick, while I was still swirling in a protected world. My love letters erased, the carrier pigeons stoned, my writing replaced by graffiti. In ghetto alleys, I was affected with the same sores you complained of. Now, unable to cure my leprosy, I roam in the shadows of your alleys, covered, sneaking, and huddling. Yet within the solitary confines, a spider spins its web, a thread appears, with the sound of a distant sitar, guzzles, music, costumes, languages, incense. As the spider spins, with each thread appears another legacy, left me till I sit at length relieved in the midst of the cobwebs of my life, relieved by my ancestry. Tonight I want to free butterflies in glass jars, ignite a harvest of butterflies. Tonight I want to feel ablaze, to dance to the sound of my bangles, to stand beneath the Golden Gate Bridge and hear the waves against the city of San Francisco. Tonight I want to feel the playfulness of rustling leaves, Indian festivities sprouting as weeds, peacocks spreading their colors over the gap of my separation. Yet this loneliness persists, the chain of monotony unbreakable acts of distraction. What is the genesis of this feeling? The ether of life distilling in a flask of silence. No reaction from the chemicals I miss. No resonance to my voice. I think of Van Gogh, crows in the cornfield, loneliness channeled into creativity, colors stuffing the crevices of canvas. Thank you. Oh, by the way, quickly, I was so moved. I went to a lecture by the man who visited George Jackson, one of the Soledad brothers. I'm sure all of you know about Soledad brothers. I hope you do. But this was a man who had got his Yale degree in law, and his father and his grandfather had done the same. And he believed in using law for social justice. And of course, he was thrown in prison because they claimed that he had sneaked in the gun in a typewriter, can you believe, in a recorder actually, to George Jackson, which is why George Jackson was finally shot. So it just drew parallels with what's going on right now with the Kennedy assassination and all the conspiracy theory in us. I just wanted to share that with you. I can't remember his name. I wish I could.
All right.
Now I'm taking the microphone one more time, but I'm going to give it back in a moment. Tom Holmberg, a humorist, a philosopher, a beautiful person, a bilingual person, a person of patience and understanding, has his poetry to present to us tonight as our feature. Will he kindly come to the stage and present himself in good order, fine metal, and I'll think of another thing in a moment.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
He's ready.
Come on up.
Make sure this is the right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we can adjust it. Flexible. As they say in France, we can do it.
Hello, good evening. I'm glad to be with you again, and thank you for your inspiration. I'm Tom Holmberg. Here's a new one. For lack of a sharpened pencil handy, the world has many problems it shouldn't have. Underneath our very feet lie buried answers we do not even have questions for. If at first you do not succeed, keep trying for the rest of your life. The writer's head was in the writer's block. The axe was about to fall. He said, "Shit. Wait a minute. I'll think of something." Poets are uncomfortable people. It's like the grain in the sand and the oyster thing. We get agitated, then try to create something beautiful to console ourselves and share a little pearl. If you do not know where something is, and you do not look for it, you might find it anyway. Alone, he thought about others too much. If your mind is constipated, your bowels could be in distress also. If you have someone to hug, hug the hell out of them. A simple connection makes for more of everything. A curve and a straight line like each other. It takes a long, long time to come up with a time saver. If you make a wish, there is always a kiss in it somewhere. If it is not light, it is not always dark or even heavy. If you have been up a long time, certainly you will want to lie down. criticized for his all-white canvas. Can't you see? I drew a blank. We can learn from animals. If our horse is tired and thirsty, if we allow him to gallop to the trough and gulp and drink too much, he can die. Mister, if you are thirsty for love, if you are presented with a long, tall drink of water, and you take her in all at once, a part of you can die too. You hurt her in the process. A drink of wine is best sip by sip. If she has beautiful hair and you take a lock for a souvenir, she will not mind. No one will notice. It will grow back. If you shave her head, she will be terribly embarrassed. You will be too. Hate is love we did not know what to do with, or we gave it to someone and they put it in the wastebasket. He thought she was perfect. Then, one day, he discovered a rather ugly blemish on her hidden cheek. Oh my God, now I can live with her. She had tears in her eyes after they made love. What the hell is that? He asked. He got up and paced the hall. His cheeks were all wet. She said, "Don't you dare put words in my mouth, especially those big ones. They make me gag." I am your shadow. I do not take your light. Follow me. You too can be my shadow. It could be that two may at once be found, too blue, too red, and enjoy the shade. They say that understanding irony is a form of intelligence. Oh yeah? Does it iron out the wrinkles? My favorite color, that is all she wrote. The readers interpreted the entire spectrum. Organized chaos. She said, that is a contradiction in terms. He said, are you alive? She said, I would bet on it. He said, that explains a lot. When people do not like you, humor is a joke. Anger is so much better when channeled toward peaceful means. If we see something which we do not expect, we may not really see it until it bites us in the ass. If I complain to you and you listen, that doesn't mean it is your responsibility, does it? If something big offends us, we can always take it out on someone little. Oh yes. Kiss my ass. Solace is nice. Solitude is iffy. A long talk can be mean. Say what you mean in the first place. Anxiety is nothing more than misplaced good feelings. That is why people say, keep it together and don't lose it. A tidy bowl. In our toilets, a tidy bowl in our toilets helps people pretend that we are not full of shit. People love to pretend. We really do. small things are really big deals. Walking up to Twin Peaks reminds me of the milk of human kindness. Especially on a foggy day, it reminds me of a woman's breath at a ski lift. Once I whispered in a woman's ear, "You are perfect." She slapped me, but not too hard. She said, "I told you I like an honest guy. Try again, please." She said, "I ain't no plug-in, baby. I'm your connection." Honey on a wound can help prevent infection. Just calling someone honey can help to keep you healthy. I think you believe that already. Sometimes I wake up with a strong urge to inseminate the whole wide world. I suppose that you could call that inspiring. I feel strange being a man sometimes. Sometimes when you say the word poetry, people start to run. That could be hard. That could be good for your heart, too.
You have a good time writing this, don't you?
Yeah, sometimes. Most of the time. Marine people are a little bit different, but not too much. They tend to be very knowledgeable in punctuation. When they put a peacock feather on a colon, it's not an asterisk. It's a compliment. Well, I had an imaginary conversation with my little cat last night. I have a little cat, and she's a scaredy cat, and her favorite thing to do is hide under the bed. And she came up to me the other night, and she said, I went to apologize to you, and I said, well, why? And she said, well, you know, I want to apologize to you because I'm not a dog. And I know you really love dogs. And I said, yeah, I love dogs, but I like you the way you are. And she said, do you really? And I said, yes, I really do. I think you're a good little cat. And she said, I'll try and believe that. And she went and hid under the couch again. It was a dumb little conversation, but I like her. She's a good little kitty. Why should a picture frame be more valuable than the picture? We are all made of the same stuff in different arrangements. For that reason, from the perspective of outer space, sloppy people are just as important as tidy ones. Well, what time is it here? Couple more. It's been 20 minutes already. Well, I started writing this long story about a dog last night. And I thought, I'll read that. It'll take about 20 minutes. But, I just wanted to read some of the short stuff. That's what I like. But I'll read you the last paragraph. The store was so happy and full of courtesy, people heard about it. Some customers drove from the other side of town to buy a pack of chewing gum. That's the last part of a long short story. Okay.
One more. Having to go pee interrupts a lot of good conversations.
I have to go pee myself. That's what made me think of it.
Well, good luck with that.
Okay, thank you.
Very inspiration.
We're going to take a 10-minute break, and then we're going to come back with Cesar Love, who's here, and then Eddie, our mini feature, is going to actually close us out, so we have a couple more after the break. Please schmooze as you would like, and take care everywhere. Back in 10.
Oh, thanks. Good. I want to write like that. Can I get a copy of that? I want to write a story like that one about the boarding school. Oh, it's beautiful. It's true. I can't get it out of my mind. It's like a lot of detail. Yeah. It's relaxing. It's relaxing. It's clever. Oh yeah, people are tough. That's a tough job. I used to like several years back when I first saw him. He's good to bust this place up.
I hope so too. God, what is
Bring your glasses or whatever.
Okay, I'll start with the yeah. I'll come to you in a flash.
But you guys have a good Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I've been trying to get it wasn't really
that's not
very good job.
The only thing is, yeah,
You know, it goes down to the also get medical or something, because you don't have to.
surgeon, yeah, but that's what the doctor was. That's what she said, that the others didn't do it, they didn't do it, I did it, I worked. Even if it hurts, just do it.
Yeah.
That's hard, it's hard to get up.
I think that's
Have you moved out of your neighborhood and protested against it?
There's my stove, yes, stove.
And it's right next to it.
Wow. But he gave us all the details.
Glad I got here.
I'll be glad. And you're gonna read them, I'll put you on. I find that sometimes that cheers me up, or at least I forget for a moment. That's how it is.
Yeah, I think you'd be less nervous if it was an old one, because then you could say, oh, well, it's been doing this for 20 years.
The car I can hear, but it may not be that.
It's like starting.
Well, there's something wrong with the electrical system. It started, but when it goes into.
And I kept saying, come on. You know, why not?
The lights go on, but not the turn signals. The window won't go down, the radio won't go down. Neutral, it makes it turn. So I don't know, something, I think tomorrow I'm gonna disconnect the battery, put it back in, it might work. It's just sort of.
And when you take it out, then you calculate what happened there a minute before you put it back on. You're gonna have to turn everything off, then unplug the battery, wait for a couple of minutes, then put the battery back on, wait for a couple of minutes, and then see.
Pretty good.
Well, you have to know what you're doing, and then then sometimes you have to have the exact tool for this car of that year, do this thing for it. And then you have someone say, well, I know what that is, blah, 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 blah. And you think they're right, and they're not.
Yeah, I hate dealing with mechanics all day.
What kind of car?
I don't know. 99? Why? It's a good car, I mean, my autonomy is mileage, but this is the first time it's ever happened.
How many miles?
83,000.
Well, yeah, I'm not gonna.
That's where American cars, when they get up to close to 100, that's when they start.
Oh, okay.
Stuff, so. You can always go back and look at, consumer reports for that car. Like, if it's a 99, look at the 2003 issue, and you can see what problems it should have or could have.
I got it, it hadn't been serviced in quite a while, but it hasn't been.
Yeah, it's always good. This is like
It's a small bridge.
This is the best course in the city.
when I got it from the mechanic, the brakes hardly worked, they didn't stop. And I thought, oh man, I have to get it back. And then they sort of came in. It was funny, it's like maybe using the brakes to become pressure up.
Oh, just anytime, because I have a cell phone, I'll figure it out.
Well, yes, after spending too much of this.
I think we're gonna have a high percentage of people getting prizes today.
Good. I never remember my phone number, so I carry it with me.
I'll just make sure you do the right one. We should put together all these pond hikers. We've got so many pond hikers.
I'm gonna do a collection or something like that. I have several ideas for things like
I just love those images.
Yeah.
The dragonfly and the butterfly, the frog I didn't like. I'm scared of
Well, the thing is, I was watching it,
No, I know.
I didn't even see the frog.
It's wonderful. No, but there's another one. It's something else instead of the dragonfly.
Oh, the firefly.
Firefly. Oh, it's good.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
There it is.
Got it?
Yeah. Oh, and this is my email address.
How are you?
I hope we can read it.
Work.
I hope so too.
Yeah, but we have a whole bunch of
6-2.
How about you?
Yeah, we got on, I didn't know we got on Wednesday, Thursday, and.
And if that doesn't work, give this to my email.
Listen, we'll do this on Wednesday. And then
Thanks.
Hi, how are you?
There's a possibility that this surgery that I'm doing might be
Thanks.
And they thought it was gonna be, one kid, I called them, or they called me, and they said, well, it's supposed to be this October 22nd. Because I had mentioned that as a possibility, but I didn't check back.
Oh, my just love what you
I could have
read.
picked them up.
Oh, I
I
love
probably
Do
did.
you have to
Beautiful. Just.
It'll only be like, 2 or 3 days or something like that, where I go in, when they do the thing. Like, they do that, this particular place does their surgical things on Fridays.
How are you?
So go in, they say, be back out by Monday with whatever stuff I need to do, whatever. Yeah, they said, you might need 2 or 3 weeks. It depends on, whatever, there's variables and stuff. My right shin,
I feel the same way.
Well, I'm glad you're taking care of it, because you've had this issue for a while, right?
Yeah,
Well,
it's like,
it's very well dreamed up.
it's just
So-
probably a recent iteration of something that had been going on for decades. The whole thing's not just this thing, it's like you come back for a few minutes or whatever. It's just something new, it just happens to be opportunistic in the right spot or in the wrong spot.
Last thing was about a cute.
I feel like I'm a kid like so many times. There's little. Sometimes I look at it. There's so many little dance in that pond.
Yeah, well, that's what what else do you trip over more than anything else?
Things you bump into.
You bump into the chairs and coffee table edges.
Yeah, I think okay. Well, how many times when I was a kid, little girls with their sharp black shoes.
Yeah.
You try to like hold it at arm's length, but they still do.
Wow, no boys did that, just girls.
Just girls, yeah.
I mean, some kids are just plain mean. This one kid, I mean, like earlier this year, the kid was in kindergarten or first grade. And, oh, hi, how are you? Hi, he just walks right up to me and just like, rears back to give me a big kick. I just went like this. And he's trying to kick me, but he can't, of course, reach me. And his mom comes and says, I told you not to do that. Spank, 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 spank. I mean, I just said hello to the kid. It's like, whoa.
That sounds like a TV show.
Well, we give them like orange.
Bad boys.
She wants to go to the south.
Well, I thought this was going to be a quiet night because it's rainy. So it was raining all a few hours.
Yesterday I had one girl.
Oh, tonight? They give you the drive. Yeah. Until it's either 8:45.
You have the kind that are like the packaged little plastic trays with last of
I've seen what Skilford thinks about. She was using that.
She takes care of a huge.
My question is, when you're an 845 person, I'm a bus driver myself. I saw she going by about 10 minutes ago. So what do you think?
Please get us the next one.
We may have a 5 or 10 minute wait for it, but that's okay. I will follow you as soon as we go. I want to.
Okay, so wait for, maybe one person.
Maybe we should have a lookout out there for us too.
If Nancy comes out, watch for Nancy. If comes out, she comes at the last second. She's the chef at Abacus Restaurant. Too many books, too many times.
Yeah.
She's a chef.
Well, we're gonna kick it off. Start here, so, Cesar's gonna come up.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. So with that all said, we'll begin the second half with Cesar's. As soon as he's coming here, we'll start with that. Then we'll segue to Eddie, the mini feature with his art. And where is Cesar? Is he out there?
Just gone to the bathroom.
Oh, all right. Well, then we'll have to wait a moment for Mr. Cesar.
I'm going to look for the bus.
Or, so you're ready?
Fine, I'll leave.
We got about 8 minutes. Cesar's supposed to go now, but you can go now, and then you go back to you.
Oh. Yeah, I know.
It's done.
Yeah.
You're ready?
And I got a couple of numbers.
The world's greatest sport. Besides,
One second.
according to my bias, I don't know enough about
Oh.
sports.
Cesar, you're on, and then
And Eddie will finish us off.
part of the pun. Cesar Love, ladies and gentlemen, breaking the second half, and then Eddie.
And our fabulous prizes.
You know, got a confession there. You know, I'm actually glad that Clara's not here. This is the first time I've ever been glad not to see her. And that's just this poem I've been working on for her to put on her blog for Steve is still not done. So I'm gonna read it, but it's getting there. It changes every week, but I know it's still not done. Headstone. A man departs. He leaves behind sisters, friends, stories of generosity, a table at a cafe. He leaves behind books, towers of them, titles, erudite and classic, the tomes of the ages. Together, they are the metropolis. His books parceled between those who love him. In the hands of others, they become keepsakes, mementos held by fellows and poets. The metropolis, its avenues, monuments, spires, the lake and the dome, all displaced to frontiers. His treasures, jewels in diaspora. His memory held by the books that he gathered, his moments with them may be imagined. Perhaps he savored unwrapping a package when it came to his mailbox. Likely he sparkled upon finding the long-sought edition. Expeditions through boroughs, private and world. Paper and ink gave leap to a stallion that bounded the dome. Paper and ink demanded he plunge to fathom the lake. A man departs, his moments between pages, remembered by carp, remembered by eagles. So, welcome to our buddy Steve. And I'm trying to write the most depressing poem someone can write. And it's also a work in progress, but I think it's done. I think it's done. It's just done.
I feel awful.
Well, hopefully you'll feel worse. If it's successful, you'll feel worse. Evening of Loss. Before the departure, the starlings perform a bleak festival. Black and gold birds whirl in the evening sky. Above the plaza for the wretched, over the addicts, psychotics, and workers limping home. One final air show, a chorus of dive bombers. One final song, the symphony of shards. The sky is never a deeper blue than the evening before the bombs. A house never more a home than the morning before the sheriff. High on a gnarled branch, above browning leaves, one nest soon to tumble. The leaves grasp and we grasp. A lover will leave, a parent will die. That holiday card tendered on a forever stamp will never receive a reply. Unloved birds perform their circus. A wind whistles through broken glass. Below falling leaves, this homeless man watches the air show. The cold wind steals my cart. I think I'm going to quit while I'm behind because ever look at your poems and you just can't stand any of them? I'm kind of feeling that way.
All right.
Good night.
Thank you, Cesar. All
right, and now our getting to the evening, his closer. Give it up, a nice round of applause for Eddie. Come on up, Eddie.
Hey. All right.
Hi. I'd like to make another announcement. I hate to be the bearer of bad news all the time, or anything, so I usually am not. But last week I announced that Jimmy Flowers passed away, and apparently I was given wrong information. Mr. Natural came in and told me that Jimmy Flowers is alive and well. It affected me because I know Jimmy so long that I'm glad to know that he's alive. I mean, somebody, not just one person, a few people told me that he passed away. So I went and announced here and every place I was going to do a big mural of him, and because he is who he is. And tonight I found out that Jimmy Flowers is alive. I'm sorry I announced that he passed away, but I was told by several people that Jimmy had passed away. And I apologize for saying false information to anybody, but I'm glad and I hope you are that Jimmy Flowers is still alive.
All right. Thank you.
I do most of my artwork off of reading the newspaper, and newspapers, my paintings and my writings collaborate a lot off of the news headlines. I was just reading the news the other day ago. I know how devastating there was a typhoon in the Philippines, and all of a sudden it said the government sending a lot of food there. And then yesterday in the paper it said the food banks around the Bay Area are in need of food, and the government cut off the funding for the food here. So that was just a weird thing. They're sending food somewhere else, and then now they're saying they need food here because the government cutbacks here. But anyways, I have my artwork here. A lot of people know that I'm going through a little bump in my universe. I'm homeless right now. I gave somebody $20 to get me a blanket. They took off my $20 and I had to
sleep underneath cardboard. And people ask me what's the difference I see in Haiti. I remember when the university people going in there to be doctors and stuff like that, they come out and give somebody a blanket. Now, and they seem to not even give nobody a blanket or anything. It's totally different. To me, we were brought up if somebody's cold, give them a blanket. Somebody's hungry, get them food. I worked at the Hamilton Church for a lot of years, feeding people. I worked at it, I helped out at the Boys and Girls Club, and every year I try to do something as a poster to make sure that every kid in the neighborhood here gets a toy for Christmas. I know that people talk about all the time, oh, karma this and karma that, but to me it seems like they only talk about bad karma comes back onto people. It takes a while for good karma to come back. I'll survive. I just went and had a physical. The doctors told me that I'm doing good and everything, so I'm glad I didn't get a physical because I find out that people don't check themselves out until it's too late, and they say, well, you should have yourself checked out. I am glad that the doctor told me that. As a matter of fact, talking about that, the doctors put my poem in this hospital too, so now my poem, I died for a cigarette, is in 4 hospitals. The major surgeons like my poem, I died for a cigarette. So it's helped people to quit smoking. People have cried reading it, and I'm in books, I'm in magazines, I'm in documentaries, I'm in all these different things. I'm not going to let people get me down just because I'm out on the street right now, I can sleep. But they shouldn't steal my money to get me a blanket and then don't give me a blanket. That was kind of rude. But I need to try to sell my posters, and if anybody's interested, I'm not asking for none. I always have something to offer people out there, you know. Sometimes you got a car you're going to donate to somewhere, van. Yeah, I can get something. Okay, I'm going to start out reading one I just read right now. This don't have a title. I don't know if I got any words before. It don't have a title. God made the world, the sun and the earth, the love for a mother who gave us our birth. Our brothers, our sisters, our father and our friends, the food on the table and the money we spend. Our life, our lovers, our heart and our soul, the birds and the bees to make our life a whole. God made the world a joy not of sorrow, with an ability to dream and a plan for tomorrow. This poem here kind of goes with my picture I do of 2 skeletons texting each other with their eyeballs stuck on their iPad coming out their head. This is called Through the Wormhole. What are we talking about? Mumbling? Okay, I'll try not to mumble. You live your life in your own cracked lens, and you claim that you have 1,000 virtual friends. You text, you download, and your life's a big joke, and your virtual friends wouldn't care if you croaked. Keeping up with the Joneses, you're violent and conceited, and if you died tomorrow, you'd only be deleted. A man of the world, but your world is in your phone, and your MySpace, it gets no place, because in space, you're alone. If you could see through the wormhole a few light years, there's a star. my dear Stephen Hawking. We know who you are. That's a good talking, that's a good. Okay, this one is called You Are No Angel. It's self-explanatory, I suppose. I love your smile. I love your eyes. I can see that you hurt a lot of guys. You take their money. You break their heart. You use your sweet body. And you think that you're smart. I can see this right away. You think that I was born yesterday. The rich boys love you, and you play them off cool. You use them, you tease them, and you make them a fool. The rate that you're going, and all the money you get, you're bound to make Hugh Hefner sweat. You are no angel, and I'm no saint. You look like an angel, but I know you ain't. You gave it up for beers and for duties when you were just a little hoe. But now you're living it up with diamonds and rubies, and rich boys are giving you snow. What are you doing? How have you been? Never forget me, because I broke you in. You are no angel, and I'm no saint. You say you're a virgin, but I know you ain't. This is the one that's on the album. They turned this poem into a song. It's on my phone, but it didn't take too long to hear a song and read it, so I read it as a poem. And if anybody wants to hear how it sounds on that record, you can hear it. Everybody wants to donate. I don't have to. But anyways, this is called Dreams of You. If I could have 1,000 dreams and just one would come true, I concentrate on one the most, the dream I have of you. I guess it's just my frame of mind, but the picture seems so clear. I feel a loss of self-control whenever you are near. I feel the chill that lovers feel when Cupid pulls his bow, and I know the pain one can't explain to be the only one to know. If I could have 1,000 dreams and just one would come true, I would hold it down with all my might, the dream I have of you. If you could have 1,000 dreams and I was part of one, your single dream would surely mean much more than two or none. This guy over here, just reading just little lines, I found them quite amusing, and I just happened to just write it in little itty bitty one night. Yeah, but I don't know how you like it. It says, if you don't ask for much, you don't get that much. And a closed mouth, it never gets fed. There are skeletons in the closet, and there are monsters under your bed. Okay, this is for whoever out there don't have a car or a van, I'll accept a Harley Davidson. This is called the Ballad of a Biker. I'm hassled by pigs, I'm living in shame. Putting and fucking is my only game. I'm willing to settle, if only I could. But you just have to realize that I'm only a hood. That's just a jacket or so, can't you see? They say I'm a menace to society. I was plodding along, I was taking my time, when the heat pulled me over, and he gave me a fine. He says I was cruising too slow in my lane, and he fucks with my bike and he drives me insane. I'm pushing and talking just a little bit of shit, when I'm clipped in the face by a giant nightstick. Now some might say that it just can't be done, to fight a lawman one-on-one. But my blood started to bubble, and my hands kind of this. I knew he was shaking, and he knew I was pissed. So I fired him up, and then hopped the fence. I looked for a hammer, a board, or a wrench. I looked off to the left side, and what do I see? A pig in his prime heading dead on to me. Hooking and hooking just as fast as I can, I cleared that fence to the club of the man. I swore to my bros it was all self-defense, and if I could do it all over, I'd stay away from that fence. They call me an outlaw, because I stand my own ground, and society doesn't want my kind around. So I thought that I'd write with my strong hopes to warn you from my home away from home, the Hotel California. Alright, listen to the last one I'm going to read. This is the one that the hospital doctors put up and let people read, and they tell me all the different reactions these people have crying to it and everything. And I didn't mean it to write it as people to cry or stuff like that. This is called I Died for a Cigarette. I tried to stop smoking, but it seems I can't quit. Because each time I tried, I had a nicotine fit. I felt kind of funny. In fact, I went nuts. I was digging in ashtrays for cigarette butts. I remember the times that I stayed up till 4. I gathered my change for some Arabic store. Now I lay here with cancer, with the guilt and regret that I ever lit up that first cigarette. One led to another, and soon it was packed, and I smoked like a train with my lungs on the tracks. I never would listen to the Surgeon General's warning, and I would light up another as I would waken each morning. I tried to stop smoking, but I couldn't stop the crave, and I died for a cigarette. Should be written on my grave. One led to another, and now my lungs are all black, and someday you might see what I mean. When you die for a smoke, you see there's no joke, just your lungs on an x-ray machine. I tried to stop smoking, but I just couldn't quit, and I gave up my life to my nicotine fit. So if my money is funny, and my credit still talks, please bury my ashes in a cigarette box. Thank you. Bye, folks.
We have some door prizes here. We're going to take care of that in a unique fashion since I don't have my cards with me.
Missed the paper. Sorry. Well, Stephanie Manning's not here. Up or down?
Yeah.
Across. Karen Huff, you are the first winner of the evening. Since I heard down, I was on 7, you're 8. There you go. You may take one of these fine and wonderful, beautiful prizes. I should say take 2.
I don't want to.
Okay. we got so many, but that's okay. We don't have to give it all. All right, and someone just say up or down.
Over.
Well, Lewis is not here. Buford.
I want the mini feature.
Okay, Buford's the mini. You're in there with that. And well, Yasmin's not here. This would be Brian.
All right.
Mr. Brian, come on.
All right.
Take one of these fine prizes designed with your mind in mind. All right. And Garrett. Garrett is the winner. I wish I had my cards. It's so much more democratic. Cesar. I think everybody who's on this list. Oh yes, beautiful. Thank you. That's just an Or mag. It's Or magazine. I haven't seen it, so someone donated it last week. Tom Holmberg.
No.
Gloria Weaver.
No.
Or a hot dog, whichever you prefer. That's just Mr. Natural's card he left there. And then Eddie, if you would like these fine gifts, come forward. You got one, yes?
Yeah.
Thank you. Make sure that you pick up this, as long as everybody's happy.
It's spam.
Huh? Oh, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you were talking about taking one of those. That's fine. You're a
Yeah, I
wonderful
took,
man.
I need to stretch mine.
Oh, good. As I say, either way, whatever the answer is, it's profound.
Yes, it is.
You're alone. Oh my God! You're not alone. Oh my God! Wait a minute. They can't fix that. It's my psychology. I'm sorry.
I know, either way, it's
Yeah.
like you said.
Well, there's a recent thing. The most recent thing I read on that is scientists say it's inevitable. I mean, if there's, the universe is so big that there's got to be millions of planets just like ours.
I don't know about just like it, but we'd have to be pretty egotistical to think we're the only intelligent.
That's another one. It's kind of like there's probably they're out there going, no, we're not going over there. We put satellites around that whole part of the galaxy. Don't go anywhere near those people. Why? Well, just look at the TV that they send out. Oh my God. Who is that? Oh, it's I Love Lucy. I don't know. It's pretty funny. Yeah, but it's perverted.
It is. Like, after 9/11, I got so tired of watching that over and over and over. I turned on another series. I needed a comic relief for that.
Oh yeah. I remember that. I remember that pretty well.
It's forever.
Yeah. And the thing is, the thing that got me about that, one of the things was, the planes crash into the thing, Tower of the Bird. They find all the passports. They're found on the ground, in the wallets and stuff like that. The other thing that's cool was,
How did that happen?
we don't know. Several people, there were three of the hijackers who weren't on the plane because their passports are the ones that were found and their names are the ones that are on the lists, but they're still alive and they didn't do the hijacking, so they actually tried to sue the government for blah 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 blah, whatever, right? And of course these cases went nowhere. That